edition of the best segment in all sports. I'm going to get caught up to speed last night in a lovely Philadelphia casino alongside Wilson.
Lovely.
Yeah, it is. You don't like the carpeting? I never liked the carpeting in casinos. An elite committee of pundits, scholars, and peoples whose New Year's resolution was less vaping fought and toiled and burned the midnight oil to deliver the best segment in all sports. It's just the committee. It's not necessarily you. It's an honor and a privilege. It's time for Nick's Tears.
I feel like the world should know that Wilds, who only uses the teleprompter for this, and I appreciate that, spelled the word privilege wrong in the teleprompter.
I spelled it phonetically. Phonetically.
And I also feel like you have to stop the vaping jokes. I don't vape anymore. It's very well known around the office. I don't vape anymore.
Okay, I hope so. I think it's good for you. Congratulations. It is good for your radio career. You have that name.
Exactly right. No, Joe Buck had a good story about that. Time for the tears.
Okay.
Couple new eliminations, and they're all mathematically. You know what? I've thought about this graphic. We probably need to revise these red X's. You can't really see who's underneath them.
eliminated.
That's the Colts and Seahawks who have been added to the eliminated tiers. Maybe next year we'll do a better job with that. All right, now to the actual tiers. One game short. Man, it's going to be a long offseason for the Falcons and Dolphins if it turns out the way I think it's going to. Falcons are going to be thinking about the fact that they lost to the Saints when the Saints were in the midst of a free fall. They had the Chargers on the ropes and couldn't just get to 20 points. And for the Dolphins, when Tua came back, they lost to Arizona by 1 and lost to Buffalo in a game that gets kind of lost, but it was Tua played well, they played well. Buffalo, it's a field goal with a few seconds left or maybe at the gun to win that game. And I think that's going to be the difference for these teams because even if they both win this week, they don't control their own destiny. Scary, except on Sundays. You know what? This Cincinnati narrative is going to drive me crazy. It's going to drive me insane. I watched a segment very similar to the one we did earlier this week on a competing network. It was in an airport. TV channel wouldn't change. And they in back-to-back segments did how scary Cincinnati is and how other than Buffalo and Baltimore, they're the scariest team in the AFC. And the person making that argument in the very next segment picked them to lose to Pittsburgh this week, which is kind of what a lot of people believe. They're terrifying. They're dangerous. I can't trust them to beat the Steelers this weekend, though. And so I just, again, nobody has been a bigger proponent for Joe Burrow over the last few years outside of Cincinnati than this guy. And I think he's been excellent. But the team is not good. He's good. People conflate how good your offense is with how scary you are as a team. And as Wilds would tell us,
defense wins championships.
Thank you, Kevin
Wilds. Still scary, don't they?
Okay, all right. Limping to the finish line. Denver and Houston, not great. So, awesome start. Like, for Denver, awesome start to the year and really until these last couple weeks. Now, they desperately need a win against the Chiefs' backups to lock up their playoff berth. Houston, I don't really know if it was ever great for them this season, but right now they do look like they're coming off their absolute low point. And they're in a weird spot because you had your worst game of the year, and now you're probably not even going to play your guys. So it's going to have been quite some time before when you get to the playoffs, big gap between a last game you feel really good about and when you're playing in round one, probably against Pittsburgh, maybe against the Chargers. Technically maybe against the Ravens, but that's not going to happen. Gotta win a round. This is about Mike Tomlin and this is about Justin Herbert. So, listen, I love Mike Tomlin. Feels like everybody loves Mike Tomlin. Except for the people in Pittsburgh who are very split on Mike Tomlin because it has been so long since they won a playoff game. There's not a lot of examples in NFL history for coaches going this long without winning a playoff game and keeping their job. Now, nobody thinks Tomlin's job should be in jeopardy again, except for some loud voices in Pittsburgh, most notably my buddy Andrew Filipponi, but set that aside. But you got to win a round this year, especially if you get Houston in round one. Yeah, you win this weekend against Cincinnati, then you're almost locked into that 5 seed. Technically, you can get the division. You got to beat Houston. And for the Chargers, it's tough. It's going to be tough. You're going to be on the road. But we need to see some result now that Herbert has an excellent coach and an excellent defense.
Yeah.
I don't think it's too much to ask. Next, bright future, murky present. And by that I mean I just think both these teams, because of their draw, are staring at a likely very short playoff tenure, potentially not making it out of the first weekend. I'd be shocked if Washington, whoever is the 7 seed, I should say, I'd be shocked if they make it out of round 1. I don't think Philly's losing in round 1. And whoever's the 6 seed is probably going to Tampa or to the Rams. I really like where both these teams are positioned moving forward. And I think for Washington, this was objectively a great season. So I think the future's bright. I don't think this year's playoff run is going to be long for either one of these teams. More than a spoiler, I think either of these teams could be in the NFC Championship game. I think the Bucs last year made it to the divisional round. The Rams last year lost by a point to Detroit. I still think had they won that game, they could have ended up playing the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. And while the Rams' offense hasn't been humming as of late, after being 1-4, they've won 8 out of 10. And the Bucs' offense is absolutely on fire and has to stay on fire because they need to win this weekend. They need to get Mike Evans his 1,000 yards. Steve Nash Suns, some conference finals, some what-ifs due to injuries, and just some really bad defenses. That was the Steve Nash Suns. Right now, it kind of feels like this year's Lions because they're all kind of wrapped into one. Made the conference finals a year ago, felt like this was a better team. Injuries, started to really catch up to you to where now it's a race to 40 every time they play, and I don't think that's sustainable. And I also sadly think the Lions season could be over in 9 days. As great as it's been, they lose Sunday night. They're going to be on the road in round 1 against one of those teams on the row right beneath them. Not an easy matchup. It's not really their fault, but I think that's where we're headed. Brew, I don't think you're going to like this, but it's fair. AFC Championship game or bust. Here's the deal. Here's why I say, I know you feel like they're Super Bowl or bust. I get it. I don't think there's any shame in losing to the soon-to-be 3-time defending Super Bowl champs. But you cannot have your fan base go absolute scorched earth napalm on the Bills and Josh Allen these last 2 weeks in this MVP online turf war between Ravens fans and Bills fans, and then lose that game. And then, where you have lost, this is a spot where you have more Pro Bowlers than any team in the league. Derrick Henry's been unbelievable. Lamar is having one of the greatest, I'm told, seasons any quarterback's ever had. DVOA has this Ravens team as the 5th greatest team in NFL history. For the record, they had last year's Ravens team as the 4th greatest team in NFL history. I'm not telling Aaron Schatz his algorithm needs to be tweaked, but maybe you're overvaluing the Ravens a bit. Regardless, you can't lose in round 1 or round 2 if you're them. Next, quietly awesome, Minnesota Vikings. A few years ago, the Vikings had a gaudy record. We didn't really talk about them because we didn't believe in them. This year, the Vikings have an awesome record. I do believe in them. We don't really talk about them. Probably are bad on that. I think the Vikings are going to win this weekend, be the 1 seed, and all of a sudden, we're going to be hearing skull chants in the NFC Championship game as they try to reach the Super Bowl. Hot team, hot seat. Sorry, Sirianni. This is the life as a Philadelphia head coach.
Hot seat.
So here's why I say that. Brew, you think the Packers could beat them in round 1?
Yes, absolutely.
Man, I think he made the right decision on the Saquon thing, and I don't even know if it's his decision. But if they were to lose in round 1 in back-to-back years, I don't know what happens. I also think they're awesome and should be in the NFC Championship game, maybe at home, probably on the road. But they're in a very weird spot once again for different reasons this postseason. Perfect season. Here's question mark. Here's what I mean. So they did deny the Chiefs their perfect season. But if we were to script for Josh Allen to have a chance to become the media's QB1, this would be the process. Deny Patrick Mahomes a perfect season, that's a little bonus. Then win league MVP. And then what if the playoff route is this? Beat Joe Burrow in round 1, they could be playing them. Beat Lamar in round 2, they should be playing them. Beat Patrick in round 3 in his building,
he would get
and then go win the Super Bowl, he would get it.
Yeah.
And so and deliver the Bills their first championship ever. That would be a perfect season for Buffalo. It's all in front of them. Rested and disrespected. I mean, I guess they're 15-1 by dumb luck. They don't have that many good players. Mahomes isn't carrying them. They only have one good player on defense. I can't figure it out. By the way, Trent McDuffie not making the Pro Bowl might be more outrageous than Patrick not making it, but that's fine. Just add it to the bulletin board. Wait, we already did that. There's the tears, Greg.
I'm going to go to that quietly awesome team because they are definitely that. They are quietly awesome, that Minnesota Viking team in Minnesota. Look, there's too many reasons why this team too many reasons why this team should be actually ahead of the Eagles.
Wow.
Like, I'm with you. As much as you know I've been on the Lions this season and what they've been able to do. Well, the Lions, the reason why we look at these teams and we talk about, well, let's look at their quarterback. That's what we first look at with these teams. And Sam Darnold, we didn't give him any credit going into the season. We didn't give him any credit through the first half of the season. Waited for him to go pumpkin watch. He was on pumpkin watch the entire time, and he's just been consistently good. Then we look at, well, do they have coaching? Well, they do have coaching.
Great coaching.
They have really good coaching. And we start to look at, okay, the team as overall, what do they have as from a personnel standpoint? Well, they have everything you want. They have skilled players out the window. You have guys on the defensive side that can rush the passer, that create turnovers. All these things they have going for them. And, what's that last thing we've been looking at with that Lions team? Health. Yeah. They're healthy. You look at the Eagles. Are they healthy? Well, we don't know what their quarterback is doing. They're resting. You talk about the vibes. Minnesota quietly has awesome vibes.
Oh, yeah. Not quite.
Awesome vibes. Yeah. You talk about a team that everybody thought last week the Green Bay Packers were going to go into U.S. Bank and beat them. Well, that didn't happen. They actually handled them and handled them very quickly. Now you have an opportunity to get the 1 seed against a Lions team that has had your number, but they barely beat you at U.S. Bank. So you feel really good about this. You know you can beat any team in the NFC. This Minnesota Vikings team, they're good.
Oh, they're really good.
They're really good.
You know what? I think they're quietly awesome.
You're right. I like that. But I just think they're the best team in the NFC.
So I think that, they might be 15-2 with the 1 seed. So there is a compelling argument for it. I am not right now factoring in, and the committee is not, the Jalen Hurts concussion into the playoff stuff. Because there hasn't been any reporting that they're worried that he could. But if he's not cleared from the protocol Monday morning, as soon as and I know they're not going to be practicing on Monday, but you follow me, then I would flip it. Right now, even though Minnesota has the better record, I feel like Philly has the slightly better resume. But if there is any question of Hurts, forget him missing the game, him just missing practice in the lead-up, that would be enough to change it for me. And so, even though I don't love Sirianni, the guy has coached and won playoff games. Kevin O'Connell, has coached 1 career playoff game. It was at home, and they lost to Daniel Jones. Yeah.
Nick, obviously your team is the Chiefs. But you have fallen in love with the Bills. Why are they second?
They're the second best team in the league.
They should drop all the way below the Lions.
Oh, the Lions?
Yeah. And don't give me that. They beat the Lions. Because guess what Baltimore did to Buffalo?
And then what lost 5.
They made Buffalo make them some sandwiches. 25 points.
In Baltimore.
Pounded
it was in Baltimore.
Yeah, but they were rude hosts. But anyway, of these teams, Buffalo has the worst defense. All right,
they do not have a worse defense than Detroit. They don't. They don't, Brew. There's no way you can believe that. They don't.
They both put up 40 pieces on each other. All right? And so I'm dropping them because of that. Offensively, because you could say, you didn't say Baltimore, which I give you credit for.
Yeah, Baltimore.
Because recently Baltimore's been really balling. Offensively, they're the least versatile offense, right? We know what's coming. Josh, you got to do it. They got the worst receiving core of all of these groups. I'm not going to disrespect James Cook. He's a good running back, but, some of these teams got better ones. And they're 3-3 against playoff or teams with winning records. Baltimore is 7-3. And they're just, like I said, they're just one of the teams that should be ahead of them. And here's where you're fooled, Nick. I'm not fooled by them going 10-1 over the last 11 weeks because they do this every year. Last year, they won 5 straight to end the season, won 6 of their last 7. How'd that turn out in the playoffs? The year before that, they won 7 straight to end the season. How'd that turn out in the playoffs?
Nice question.
It's just, they do it every year. They end strong. They're not the second best team.
Right, the team looks really good. How'd that turn out in the playoffs is not necessarily the argument I would be making for a Baltimore moving up. That's just me. Because
no, I'm not saying just Baltimore. I'm saying all of these teams should move ahead.
So can I say something about the Bills real quick? We need, as a collective, to do a better job when we're talking about the pieces around a quarterback, to acknowledging what a quarterback probably would like more than any of the other things is an awesome offensive line. And Josh has the best offensive line in the conference by a sizable margin. And what?
How many Pro Bowlers does he have on the offensive line?
Again, he has left tackle Deion Dawkins. That's it. I don't know if you.
Chiefs had 2.
No, the Chiefs had 3. Again, it's amazing. The Chiefs. I don't know what they're blocking for because none of the skill position guys are any good. Evidently, that's fine. I'm not going to use the Pro Bowl voting as the metric of it. I think everyone who's watched football this year knows the Bills' offensive line has been spectacular, and James Cook. I think you're underselling. I think James Cook has 15 touchdowns, and that's with Josh vulturing 9 goal line. Yeah,
but he's not as good as a lot of these.
Touchdowns this year.
He's not better than Gibbs. He's not better than, obviously, Saquon.
Or Derrick Henry. I agree.
Aaron
But
Jones even?
I just think that the Bills' offensive pieces around Josh, because the wide receivers aren't awesome, we have downgraded the fact they have a great offensive line, excellent running game, and pretty good tight ends. I think 2 good tight ends. Not great tight ends, but 2 good tight ends. Go ahead.
I'm moving the Lions to right behind the Chiefs. I'm giving the Chiefs the benefit of the doubt, but Lions are still number 2. Here's why. Lions and Chiefs are the same team on opposite sides of the ball. You look at it, it's like, well, the injuries have decimated one whole unit. For the Chiefs, it was the offense, and Mahomes' numbers sank. For the Lions, it was the defense, and all the defensive metrics sank. But when you looked at what was actually happening in the games, has it translated to wins and losses? Lions just keep on winning. Record this season when allowing over 28 points. Lions are 4-1. The rest of the NFL is
16
and 120. This is the defensive version of the Chiefs haven't scored 30 points. 3 teams haven't scored 30 points all year. It's the Patriots, who are terrible, the Raiders, who are terrible, and the Chiefs, who are the best team in the league. This is the same graphic. Finally, Goff, what about that's not going to carry? Because what if Goff runs into this great defense? You can't keep it up. Goff this season against top 10 scoring defenses. 4-0, completion percentage around 85%. It's the best by any quarterback, and his passer rating is at 127. So when we talk about the same arguments made for the Chiefs can be made for the Lions. Yeah, the defense, and yeah, the numbers, and yeah, this, and yeah, this. When the games are played, the Lions end up winning. What about the Bills game? The Chiefs lost to the Bills too. It is what it is. Until the Lions start losing games, I'm not willing to drop them below teams that they have beaten.
So a couple things. One is, that would to me make more sense if the Lions defense, instead of playing its worst football of the year right now, was playing its best. The Chiefs offense is coming off its best game of the year.
It was 27 points, right?
They
still haven't scored 31 points.
Yeah, that is, so again, like, this is a weird thing. Here's a stat no one's ever heard in the history of football until right now. How many times did you score 31 this year? It's never been talked about, ever.
It's been talked about I don't want to be a jerk. It's been talked about all this year, that the Chiefs don't blow any teams out.
No, I know. Of course it's been talked about this year, because the Chiefs, unfortunate for the numbers people, have scored 30. So it's like, you know what, we're going to change it to have you scored 31, which is an odd thing. I did a 28-point thing, and you didn't like that because you were like, that's a weird number even though it was 7s. 30 to me makes total sense, but it wouldn't apply.
Well, if I can't talk, I'm just saying it's the same exact thing that's happening.
And what I'm saying is that if the Chiefs' offense from the beginning of the year is the Lions' defense from right now, That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, I think we all said, oh, the last 2 games the Chiefs played, the 2 games in 4 days against Pittsburgh and Houston or whatever it was the best they had looked all year. While the Lions, I feel like, and they did just lose, didn't they? I don't know who they lost to Buffalo. Yeah. The Lions defense is playing its worst football all year, including Monday night, allowing the second team Niners to score 30. What, they scored 30, 28, 34?
But they keep on winning games. That's the issue. Every time there's an injury on this Lions line, I got to hear the broadcast. Oh, they're tired. They're injured. They need this. They need that. Dan Campbell's making the wrong decisions. WWWWW. It's this hypothetical. It's literally the same thing we talk about. It's this hypothetical concern that all of this outside stuff and all of this data won't translate to wins. But when the game is actually played and the football is being hiked, the Lions leave the field winning.
Right. So you'll feel drastically differently if they lose Sunday.
If they lose, yes, it's like the Chiefs. If they end up losing, yeah, we'll be right. All the naysayers will be right. But while they keep on winning.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.